Am I light enough? I can put another light on. Do you need more light?
I think it's good. I think it's good.
It keeps falling off my laptop. Every time I put the light on the back of the laptop, halfway through the podcast, it falls off. I'll try it again.
Okay. Well, I've got 2 Hollywood lamps.
I know. Look, I've been awake for 21 hours straight.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's been crazy.
There she is. Don't mind Simon. He's trying to figure out how to screw a light bulb. I'm trying to help him.
She's in her car. Wait, she's on mute, Doug.
You should hear me. Do you hear me, Simon?
How are you?
Yeah, I can't hear you, but that's okay.
Why are you in your car? Are you just trying to get away from your family?
Well, trying to be like you, Simon.
This is my office.
Yeah, I know what that feels like.
This is where I work. I have
me too.
2 young boys and 2 dogs, and it's 8:30 in the morning. Not a good time to be at home.
No, I do some of my best work in the car.
I don't know what you mean by that, Simon, but I don't trust you being professional.
I do.
That's how we first met.
Was in the car.
Well, well, you were in your car and I was in my car.
Never let the truth get in the way of a good story, Amy. I don't tell people like that.
I know. I just need to.
Before you hopped on, Amy, Simon was telling me about how you 2 actually met, which was not in the car, but online, on LinkedIn, more specifically. And so he was telling me his side of the story, which, I take it with a grain of salt. So I want to hear from Amy. I want to hear from Amy. How did you meet Simon? Maybe not before you started talking, but how did you first come across Simon? What happened? And here we are.
Okay. I wish I could have heard his side, but my side of the story is long before I started posting on LinkedIn, I was very active in my scrolling and my commenting. And that's where I kind of found the people that I wanted to hang around, if you will. And I really enjoyed the language in Simon's posts. I thought they were real and creative and a little bit edgy for an old guy, I'll say. And he wrote
old is relative, my friend. Old is relative.
It's true. It's true. And one particular post, he was essentially questioning the audience why people put all these letters, credentials I call them, but letters or garbage, I can't remember the exact word. Why do we put all that after our names? What's the relevance? Do they need to be there? And why would anyone think that they needed to put that after their name? And I don't remember the exact post, but it was definitely pretty direct that people that were doing that shouldn't be, if I recall correctly. You were pretty direct. So imagine that. So I jumped right in and explained why I use my credentials. And
she didn't jump in. She attacked me. She went like full bore chihuahua.
Did I? What did I say, Simon?
I don't know. She went, but I'm so used to pissed off women in my life. I thought I just one more. I don't know. It doesn't matter. She just.
No, I really, for that particular day, on that day, I really wanted to get my point across, and I might have been coming in with a little bit of a pre-existing opinion.
Yes.
Of you, but really, honestly, I wanted to get your attention.
Yes.
That's what I wanted to do, and it worked.
Yeah, and so we
worked. So what happened after that?
Well, we just traded insult after insult, and then we became good friends.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Huh?
That's kind of like how most of the relationships with the females in my life start out. You know, we just trade insults, you know, and then we become friends. So
I think one thing you actually did say, Simon, is you said that you thought I was trying to sell you Microsoft, because
yeah,
one of my credentials is MSN, which is
yeah.
a master's in nursing. And you said, I'm sorry.
You have it. Oh, you kept me coupons.
Hold on, guys.
See, for once, we're not looking stupid, Doug. Normally it's
I
us.
know.
Normally it's us that create the content for the blooper reel, but Amy can't even put her phone on the dashboard.
Let's go in the blooper reel.
Wait.
By the way, she's sitting cross-legged.
Wasn't that a good recovery, though?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Not bad. Yeah.
I
So
kept
I've got,
most of my
what other
Yeah, then-
credentials are there? MS. Here, look at mine. Why is mine always the smallest? Why is that?
Oh, you got the smallest coffee in the world. How's that?
Look at mine. And I didn't really spill any of it either, despite that. So that's important.
But what other credentials do you have on your name? MSN is what? Nursing?
A Master's of Science in Nursing.
Yeah. What else?
RN. I'm a registered nurse.
Okay.
And I'm a NCIP, which is a nationally certified intervention professional.
We could do that, Doug. You and I should do that. Where do we sign up for that? I'll do one of them. How long does that take? 10 minutes?
Well, in this case, I have to fundamentally disagree with you, Simon, on this one about titles after names. In this particular instance, I totally understand why someone would put, you know, those 3 credentials after their name. Everyone else who's not in a life-saving field does not need them. But if you're dealing with, in my opinion, really sensitive medical stuff, and you need the credibility instantly to let people know that what you're posting has some weight behind it, that you're just not making these things up. They come from training, certification processes, so on and so forth. But people who put MBA after their name, okay, you know what, you're annoying me. But in this regard, even masters of social work, I would often say that even that is okay, because some people don't know who to trust. You know, people just making up stuff left and right. If you have these types of credentials, it kind of narrows down in a life-saving field. Who should I be talking to? Who is actually backing up what they say? So in this regard, I'm on Amy's side.
No.
Well, I actually did, Doug, I actually did a poll shortly after that, asking the LinkedIn audience whether I should switch it to Amy, just Amy Olseth, or whether I should leave just the RN, or whether I should leave the longer version. And, you know, I got supported. A lot of people said the same thing, like, no, it's good for searches, it's good for your credibility. And so I kept it.
You know, it's technically not correct per LinkedIn terms and conditions. You're only supposed to put your name there.
And you know,
That's true.
really, we're not supposed to put our pronouns either.
No. It's actually, if you look in the terms and conditions, it says, no, you don't put them. But see, I disagree, because if I was looking for intervention, you know, an interventionist, and probably I do need much intervention.
We can do that offline.
Yeah. You would only have to look at your post history and your bio and your website to realize that you were the real deal. I don't need to see it because you've got some whatever certification, Microsoft certification after your name, right? So I just think I still think it's, I don't know, I get that people are proud or want to, you know, show off their credentials. I'll tell you a story. One of my best friends from school, he did his PhD in genetics, okay, at the University of Minnesota. He's an Aussie guy, but he moved to Minnesota and he did his PhD in genetics. And there he met his wife, who also did her PhD in genetics, right? And his brother did his PhD in genetics, and his brother married a lady that did her PhD. All 4 PhDs, and all insisted on calling themselves doctor, right? And you go out for dinner, and it's like doctor this, doctor this. I'm thinking, you people are insane, right? Like, they're not doctors, they're nerds, they're scientists. Okay, I get that you studied, the genomic sequence of a worm for 22 years, but that to me is like, I don't get that, right? I just think if I needed you, Amy, for whatever, help I needed, which is obviously clear, then you would find out that instantly from your digital footprint, put it that way.
Maybe at this point, maybe by now, but when I first started off about a year ago on LinkedIn, I don't know about that.
Okay.
But
why don't you tell us that? So why don't you tell us, because you've had such a rapid rise, since we met you, or since I met you. Tell us, because I know Doug would be interested in hearing the story of where you've started and where you've come from.
Oh, goodness.
LinkedIn.
Kind of a
Tell us,
long story.
tell us the LinkedIn bit, right? Because you seem to. I have no idea how you do any intervention work, because you're always on LinkedIn, right?
I am. I'm very committed. I am very committed to LinkedIn, and when I back off of it, it affects my what do you guys call them? Conversion? Is that what you do? Conversions? And whatever they're called. People notice when I'm not there, and it does affect some of my business incoming. So I put a lot into it. So where I came from, basically, I got on LinkedIn because I left my full-time job to school my boys at home, like I think a lot of moms and dads had to do. Mm-hmm. I needed to be home, and I had volunteered my intervention services for a long time, but I'd never thought about actually doing it as a career. And I thought, well, where would I even start to get people to know what I do? And when I got on LinkedIn, I just was reading other people's stories, meeting people. And I thought, I think that I think I can get business this way. I really think I could. And so I started to test the waters, just seeing if I could make real relationships. And I realized quickly that I was actually connecting with people, and it was really cool. And I thought, absolutely, if I can get people to understand who I am as a person, then over time, I think that I could get business this way. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of where it started, except I had no idea how to do it. I really didn't. And
that's okay. Either do we. Don't worry. We have no idea.
I had a really, really crappy website, and I was reading some posts, and Simon had a post saying, "Hey, if anyone," this was after you insulted me. I came back for more. I was like, "Oh, let me."
Not be an insult.
So you said that you were willing to meet with 3 people if we had an actual question to ask you about marketing or business. Mm-hmm. And I thought, you know what, this guy's going to give it to me straight, and he's going to tell me, and he's not going to try to BS me or sell me anything. He's going to tell me honestly. So I reached out to you and I said, hey, can we chat? Can we talk about my website in particular? So it was a really, really bad website that I tried to make myself, and I was getting no traction on it. And I think it just confused people even more. So Simon helped me. You did. I mean, you not only told me that it was awful, but you also told me I had a good idea. And I think you were the first person outside of the field that actually thought I had a good idea with my business model. And I just needed some help formulating it. So it kind of started, as far as my traction, it started with you, Simon. It did.
Well, that's good.
And
I think it's a great story because you guys, I think people on LinkedIn need to understand that selling on a social media platform is not, in my opinion, the most effective way to get clients. It's building relationships and meeting people, having conversations offline, and helping each other out. As you grow your network, your own personality will sell for you. But I think it's an amazing story because we live in a time where, by and large, the way Simon handled you via his post will get a lot of hate, I would say, from people out there. Well, if he actually was a person with a personal brand to lose, he could easily lose his personal brand doing what he does, and because he doesn't care. He cares, but he had nothing to lose on LinkedIn. His business is not dependent on LinkedIn, so therefore he can be more real than your average seller on LinkedIn. And what's amazing to me is he stuck to his gun, and so did you, Amy. And both of you met and formed a friendship out of that. And I can't think of a more powerful story than the story of Simon and Amy. Am I right, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think of it that much. I mean, I still insult a lot of women apparently, but Amy and I are good friends, and it's funny. It's like you and I, Doug. The three of us have never met, right?
No.
Face to face, but I think we're all good friends. And if we met and had lunch, we'd laugh and have a drink and carry on just like we never left off, right? And I think that that's what's good about LinkedIn. I think people, we have each other's back, and I think that that's what's good. We're all different. We couldn't have come from different backgrounds or do different things for work. But on a more serious note for a second, we had a terrible incident in Colorado last week, and one of our clients' daughters was caught in that supermarket, and one of our guys was in that supermarket 2 hours before. And I thought we had a lot of trauma, in the community, and we've got some counseling to do. And as soon as that happened, our security business sort of, took off, and we had to do a lot of active shooter training and some debriefing with some, executives and stuff like that. But I actually thought of Amy because I thought, I need some human people to come and help us, get people off the ledge, and I thought that's, and so as much as I didn't think we'd ever be able to use someone like Amy's skills, that was in the back of my mind to say, who do I trust who could actually provide genuine caring and genuine empathy and the ability to process such trauma? Because I'm sure, you and I, Doug, have no clue how to deal with, that. Whereas I think someone like Amy has all the skill in the world. And so that's the, if we talked about a direct correlation about how the power of the network, I think that's really, important to me.
It's a good example.
Yeah. I also want to say also the power of the network, but also the power of the personal story. And Amy does this remarkably well. I mean, she talks about her own path with loss, grief, mourning, addiction, overcoming addiction, confusion, trying to find your way, and yet still remain credible and a source where people can go to get help for themselves and whatever capacity that they're struggling with. And I work with so many people who would consider themselves high level in terms of C-suite or CEO, who would never dare touch these types of topics that Amy brings up. And they're missing out because these are the things that draw us closer to each other, to trust, to think of them when in our time of need. it's always in the back of our mind. So, Amy, I have a quick question. What gave you the confidence to start talking about these very personal topics that, quite frankly, most people will not be comfortable sharing on a social media platform, much less on a business-to-business platform? So what was the process for you, if there was one or not, to start talking about these topics?
It definitely built, the confidence built as my connections, my true connections and bonds within my LinkedIn community. So as I started to build a sincere relationships with people, it gave me the strength to want to share my stories with them. It felt almost like a safe spot. Like you said, we have each other's back. Well, I think it's a lot easier to be vulnerable when you know that certain people are going to show up for you. And, you know, I didn't make those people show up for me. It was relationships that built over several months. And as they shared, I became empowered to share. And I realized that the power of those stories to get other people talking. And that's kind of where my bucket started getting filled. It wasn't just, oh, Amy's going to tell a story and get likes or get someone to want to hire me. It really became, the more I share, the more other people started sharing in comments and in DM. And it didn't feel exposing like I thought it would. It felt very safe and very natural. And I grew professionally and personally through sharing that and seeing that other people became empowered. And so that's what feeds it, you know. And I've thought a lot about what feeds me to do it. Like, I've done a lot of reflection. Is it ego? Is it attention? Like, what is it that's making me want to share about myself and share my knowledge? And it's really what it stirs up in other people. Yeah. That's really quite amazing to me.
See, I have a question, Amy, which I think Doug and I relate to. Well, I have more in common than you, and is that, see, we deal with a lot of different customers, and my kids laugh at me because every time they hear me on the phone, I seem to be arguing with a client. Okay, maybe I enjoy it, right? And you know, we talk about firing clients all the time, and we choose not to do business with a lot of people on a weekly basis, just because we have such a high interaction level with the public. Okay, so when you deal with the public like we do, on a very mass transactional basis, you get to deal. We get to deal with with people that spend $45, and we get to deal with people that spend $50,000. You know, and so that's that whole spectrum, and so it's transactional. And so when we have a conflict with a client or a customer, we resolve it relatively quickly, you know, in the sense that, no, we don't want to do business with you. And I do that. I'm very selective about who we do business with at a top end. So our corporate top end clients, I'm very selective. Some people might call it arrogant, but it's just, no, after all these years of doing what I do, I know exactly if it's going to turn out well or not. Okay. I wish my personal life, I could sort that out the same way, but we'll talk about that maybe later. So, but with your instance, you're dealing with a lot of emotion, a lot of angst, a lot of tension. But how do you know if that person, look, you're just not going to be able to help that person. In fact, you might be able to help the individual, but the family is so toxic, or the family environment is so toxic, or who's hiring you. Because I would have thought that's a much more difficult conversation to have, because you're dealing with someone that's got an addiction problem or whatever, which is a lot easier than telling a client, no, we're not going to drive you to the airport, or provide personal protection, or not provide personal protection for you, or not do a security analysis for you. That's easy. But how you say no to a client is a lot different to how Doug and I might say no to a client.
Yes, that's been that's been a learning curve for me, because as by nature and as a nurse, I want to help everyone. I have found that I am most helpful and most effective when I accept clients that I know that I can help, rather than being a rescuer. So I never say no to somebody unless I can refer them to an appropriate resource. So a lot of what I do, I use LinkedIn for it, but I also have other methods of getting as many resources and referral sources as possible. And I file them. So if I don't feel like I'm the right person, which I know pretty quickly, I can instantly, it's like a match. And I'm like, oh, you know, I think that you're going to be most effective working with this person. And then I introduce them, and I happily hand them off. And it's not that in my business, like a good client or a bad client or someone I can help is really dependent on my particular skill set and personality. So the more I know about other interventionists or counselors or treatment facilities, the more I know where they're going to be effective. And I consider that a success. Even a referral to somebody else, to me, that's a successful interaction, even if I don't take the client. So I always try to look at it that way. And I'm also one person. I mean, I can only help so many people at a time. So I'm very heavily reliant on my referral network that I've built up over the past year. And
so have you, I know we discussed this in our original, chat in the car. Have you increased your rates like I told you should?
After we spoke, I felt more confident about finances in general. You had a way of presenting things to me that made me think about it in a different way. So instead of looking at it as, oh, I charge X amount for this, and what's the return on investment for the client, I started to look at it through a bigger lens about, it's not just what I'm doing, it's all the years of cumulative experience that I'm providing. And that's not tangible. Right. So I have raised my rates, and I do feel confident asking people for money, which a year ago, the idea of asking somebody or giving someone an invoice for what I was doing seemed very uncomfortable to me.
So how much did you raise them percentage-wise?
Percentage-wise?
Yeah, you don't, because we don't have to, Americans don't like talking about money. I don't know why. Why is that?
I don't
know why you don't like
I don't know what it is. I would say around 10%.
10%.
He doesn't look happy.
Raise them again.
And here's why. I was giving away my hours. So it wasn't so much a rate increase. It was a smaller rate increase, but what it was being able to quantify my time.
Right. Well, I mean, that's a start, but I think, this is a good lesson for consulting in general, whether you do what I do or Doug does or what you do. We only have so many hours in the day. Okay. And so we're always trading hours for dollars. And so whether you're selling interventionists or what Doug does or what I do, I've had this argument with Doug too about his rates. But I think you should see the best way to charge rates as a consultant is have someone else do that for you. Virtual assistant, business manager, even your partner. Yes. Someone else from another email address sends the client the invoice, or sends the client the summary, or the let's call it the quote, because then it takes all the emotion out of it, because we're all uncomfortable about asking for money. You get better at it. See, my fucking light just fell off again.
It's not just me.
Stupid thing. Anyway, so, but I think that's 10% is not, 10% is just a cost of living increase. That's not an increase. I would just like you to practice something.
Okay.
the next time a client, you have and you can sense the level of urgency in their voice because you've done it so many times. And, whether you have to travel across country, you should just do a marketing experiment and consider it as a marketing experiment and say so whatever the rate is today, double it and then try that. Now you're going to say, oh my God, I can't do that. Well, sure you can. You just try it, just ask, be silent, see what happens. And then if you say, we can't afford that. Well, offer them different options. Well, what about if we broke it down into 3 monthly payments? Or what about if I did this, or I took this away? But pricing is nothing more than posture, right? Look how far you've come already. So I just say, climb up one more rung on the ladder at the swimming pool and jump off the next level, right?
You're right. And you sense resistance because it is uncomfortable. And what I am doing now is I'm working on being one person removed from that situation. Because even like we talked about last year, I need to focus on what I'm good at. And right now I'm still somewhat doing everything. Although I do have a VA now, but they're not dealing with the pricing point. So at some point it's about me giving up a certain amount of control of things and putting myself in a position that I'm not doing the financial transactions.
You see, we have 2 girls that work for us. Okay, so if you call our transportation business, our reservationists and customer service people, they're 2 sisters, and they live in New York, and they used to work in the industry, but because of COVID, the West and the East Coast got hit way harder. And these girls are formidable because that New York in your face attitude, right? So when they price things, they just bully the client into submission. They say, no, this is what it costs. Like I would never, I would be scared to charge what they charge. But because the New York way is, it's you can't offend a New Yorker with money. This is what a black car service costs. This is what this costs to go from point A to point B. And we're going to charge you everything under the sun, tolls, gratuity, whatever, all these taxes, right? These girls are amazing. And because I'm removed, I don't have anything to do with it, right? And so, they pay for themselves time and time again. Now, they're a little scary. And so I'm sure some customers think, gee, they're pretty pushy. But I think it benefits all of us to have, someone should be doing Doug's pricing. You should just say, when you talk to the client, hey, I'm going to send you a quote, or I'm going to have my assistant send you a quote. It should be all explanatory. If you want to talk about it afterwards, let's talk about it. And then you've taken the sting right out of it.
Yeah.
This is my final piece of advice. Ready? Stop being a pussy.
That's going on the blooper reel. I have a question, Simon. Let's quickly get our first out of trouble. Yeah. What was I going to say? Man, you should never say that. I've lost my train of thought.
Well, you should stop being a pussy too with your pricing. You're all pussy.
I get called names. That yeah, I can handle that.
Okay, Simon, you've been in sales for quite a long time. In fact, you've probably been in sales longer than I've been alive.
Yeah.
So
the old age thing again, is it? Yes. Okay, hit me with it.
I had to give it back to you. No, but more serious, what do you think is the reason why a lot of folks struggle to be confident in what their price is? Is it because we fear rejection?
Yes.
Or is it because we fear that we don't really know our true worth? Or is it a mix of the two? Or is it something else entirely?
I mean, I think it's a mix of the two. We deal with, we've got customers in trailer parks, and we've got literal billionaires on our client roster. Okay. And, they both equate value completely differently. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I probably shouldn't say this publicly, but what we charge the top end of town is completely different to what we charge the bottom. Okay. it's the same service in a sense, but the billionaire equates his or her time completely differently to the person that lives in a trailer park. Okay. And so you have to get comfortable with charging what the client perceives is the right amount. Okay. Not what you perceive is the right amount. And that's the key, is that pricing is nothing more than posture. Okay. And if you provide.
What do you mean by that? Pricing is nothing more than posture. What does that mean?
So you and I have discussed rates for a long time, and you say, oh, I watch your bald head, you know, sort of levitate when we talk about rates, because you have a harder time with them than your client does. Okay. So you and I are going to do this marketing experiment in the next couple of weeks. Okay. If it works, and if you receive what I told you, hey, where'd Amy go? Oh. If it works and you receive what you are worth, is that going to make you happy?
Yeah, it will make me happy, of course.
Of course. Okay. Because, but you're still grappling. I still sense you think, oh my God, I don't think that might work. Oh, well, no, actually, I know it will work. I just think that because you've never experienced that before, it's going to be foreign to you, right? So we just put our rates up last week, okay? Because of, gas has gone up 50%, okay? And so I struggle with putting our own rates up because we're a commodity and, it's competitive. But, I look at it and say, well, the people that we're dealing with, the top end of town, they couldn't care less, okay? They honestly couldn't care less, okay? And I'll give you an example. Here's a good example. Do you remember, you may not remember because you're too young, both of you. You remember the Concorde? The supersonic jet that used to fly between New York and London. British Airways and Air France they both had 7 each, okay? And all the, rich people used to fly back, jet setters fly back to New York to London 3.5 hours, okay? And the cost was, it was huge. I don't know what it was back then. It might have been $20,000, right? To fly, and rock stars and bankers and stuff would go. But then it hit troubled times. It had an accident, and then the cost was spiraling out of control, and they didn't know what to do with it. And they put a captain, a Concorde captain from British Airways, in charge of trying to rebuild it. And so, he went to these top clients of British Airways and said, look, we're going to put the rates up for the Concorde. And they were saying, well, what are the rates? Because the wealthy didn't even know what they were paying for the Concorde. Yep. Right? So he could have been charged. He basically doubled the price. People still did it, right? If I know what we do is a commodity, but I also know what we do is unique with the clients. Our clients choose to use us because of our brand, our DNA, and they choose to hire Amy because of the confidence she gives that client in saying, I am going to take the pain away from this problem. People hire you, Doug, because of your innate skill to actually get content to the end consumer. And so if we don't, price ourselves uniquely, because you really want to turn away 80% of everything that comes to you. You only want to find the 20% that are really going to pay you for what you're going to deliver. Okay. And I think everyone on this call has unique skills, and so time. It's like the egg timer. The sand's running out of the hourglass. Where I have a lot less time than you two left, but we just look at it now and say, look, we just price what you're worth, right? And if you're not prepared to do that, at least meet me halfway. Come up a little bit, right, and a little bit, and stop being a pussy.
Well,
Amy, I have a question. We're running out of time. This is just a great conversation. I want to make sure we get everything out of you before we stop. One question I have is that as you said earlier in the conversation, you do get clients from LinkedIn. It's very noticeable when you're off LinkedIn. Your conversion rate, as you said, your sale goes down when you're off LinkedIn. Have you ever measured which posts a certain client came from? Or do they ever tell you that, hey, Amy, I saw this post the other day. It really hit me hard. I knew how to reach out to you. Or is it, I've been following you for quite some time. Now is the time to talk. What is the feeling of how many times you have to post to hit to get a certain client?
Oh goodness. So in the way my relationships build on LinkedIn is kind of twofold. One, I find the facilities that I want to work with. So by me posting certain content that's pretty strongly worded about what I think makes a good facility, pretty quickly I will get contacts at the facilities that align with what I think is proper level of care. So I look at conversion as I'm finding the facilities that I want to work with. And then when I have a client that is going to be placed there, I have that rapport, and it just goes so smoothly because they already know what my expectations are. I don't make it any secret. And so there's no surprises when I do business with them. Now, as far as clients, you know, I'm small time. Like it's what, you know, I work with 1 to 2 families a month, and some of them come from directly, they've been following me and they feel comfortable with me, and then something will switch and they'll read something, and then that will tip them over, if you will, to something resonates with them. I have had clients, families in particular, say, I read about your daughter, and that really that resonated with me. I do have people that reference specific posts. But the other cool thing that I have to touch on really quick is that I'm finding the people that I want to work with, as far as I'm seeking a partner of sorts to help me in this. And by putting everything out on the table and showing my knowledge and showing my strengths and showing my sass and my vulnerability, I believe I'm going to find that match. And I believe I've found one. And so to me, that's ideal. So I'm not just looking for clients, but I'm looking for the people that I want to align with on a more permanent level.
I mean, I think, you know, if ever Doug was an example of the power of the lurker, it's with Amy's work, you know, because most people are watching, listening, and, you know, there may be your customer life cycle, Amy, may be 12 to 18 months. I mean, someone may follow you for 12 to 18 months. And that's that's the justification for you showing up every day, for you being genuine, for you being Amy, for you being, you know, the content that you're putting out, because that digital footprint is your business card. That's what makes a person call up and say, yeah, she's the real deal. I need her help now, right?
Yes. I've also, and I think it's because of the topics, I get DMs from people that say, I've never reacted or engaged in your post, because a lot of people don't want to be associated with that content. Like, what does it mean if I like something about liver disease? What does that say about me? But then they're reaching out on the side with more questions or asking for consultation on something. So I don't think that my engagement numbers necessarily reflect the amount of work or connections I'm making.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
No, definitely. Yeah, I mean, you know, you could argue that, you know, a post of yours may get, 12 likes and 4 comments, but, you know, there may be 20 people watching that thing that are, your ultimate client. Okay.
Exactly.
You know,
That's exactly it. Yep. Yep.
yours is not a pop, you know, your vertical, if that's what you want to call it, is not a popularity contest. You know, you're not looking to go supernova on LinkedIn. But I think if there's ever an example of you being you, then that's it. And I think that's why you're doing so well. And the only thing I'd say is that, I'm talking about boring business for a minute, is how do you scale? Okay. In fact, that's a question for both of you. How do you both scale? Because you're at the top of your game. Okay. And let's be honest, you are, both of you. And so how do you actually scale that business now, so where you have, more time to do the stuff that you want to, but also not lose the quality of, Amy or Doug? And that's got to keep you awake at night, to be honest. Now, maybe you don't want to scale. Maybe you don't want world domination, but I don't think that's true. I think most people genuinely want to do better for themselves, and it's just whether it be a personal goal, or whether it be a family goal, or whether it be business is addictive. Let's be honest, it is. When we do something that we're passionate about, we want to grow it. Whether or not we may not be motivated purely by the attainment of money, but we're certainly motivated by can we do better? Can we do more? How do we do more? How do we get bigger just because we want to get bigger, not because we need to impress or we have an ego, so that's the question I have for both of you.
I'll take the first stab at this one. So for me, I have to scale. I had no choice but to scale, because the work rate that I've been working at for the last, I don't know how many years, a long time, it's not sustainable. It's just simply not sustainable to work the level I do. This is not me bragging, but if some person will come and be a fly on my wall behind me, they'll see that, I don't think I've ever taken a legitimate day off in X number of years. I don't, even my wife was telling me this the other day. When was the last time we took a vacation? I'm like, we've been married 15 years. I don't think we've ever taken a vacation. So I've never not worked. And it's not sustainable. I'm getting up there in an age where, I can't do that. And when I'm 60, 70, 80, there's no retirement plan coming. There isn't. There's nothing coming for me. My kids, I don't know what the future holds for my kids, but they're not my retirement plan either. So I've got to scale. I can't sustain that. If something were to happen to me today, I don't think my family would be taken care of at all. There's nothing for them. Once I'm gone tomorrow, my wife doesn't work. There's nothing. It's 100% dependent on my ability to play with words, get some sales for some people, and leave. And I can't sustain that. I have to leave something behind for a plan. So for me to scale, I'm getting ready to roll out a course with the partner, Rob. In a couple of weeks, I'm starting to shift my focus away from small-time projects, one-off projects, into much larger scale projects. And so I can outsource a lot of that. I'm starting to, as Simon knows, work for a percentage of sales for projects I know have such a huge potential to reap a bigger reward than a monthly retainer. So I'm doing one with Simon and another one with a different company. So I'm starting to the way I do things because I'm 40. I just,
Are you 40?
when you're young, you never think about these things. And now I'm like, okay, well, what if my time's up tomorrow? What if the clock punch it? What if I have to punch in the clock tomorrow? What are my kids gonna do? What is the wife gonna do? Probably 10 years of pure hell once I leave, just trying to make up for the financial deficit. So that's been motivating me for quite some time. So to scale, you've got to find, in my neck of the woods, projects that have no limit in terms of ceiling. They could go forever. And once you get that, because when you charge on a monthly retainer, that's your ceiling. You can't make more than a monthly retainer, and you can only take so much. So you've got to find ways to charge over the monthly retainer. Take what's over that and start investing it in different things that could sustain you for a long period of time. Coursework is one of those. I've done enough of those to know, but you've got to spend those out quickly. So to answer the question, I'm thinking of ways to change my pricing model. You've helped me with one of those, working with another company on that. So yeah, it's definitely something I need to think about and take action on to that. Amy, what about you?
Oh, I'm always thinking of ways to creatively scale that don't impact my ethical line in the sand. So, and also the things I like. So a couple of things that I'm looking at, and I am like, I'm a nurse, but I'm also strategic, and I do have a bigger business model in mind. I'm looking at, over the next 5 years, being able to be the source, the hub for a specialty I'm creating, which are nurse interventionists. So I'm looking, that's another thing I'm doing on LinkedIn. I'm trying to find out if there's other people like me that could potentially do what I do.
God help us if there's 100 Amy's out there, we're doomed, Doug.
But I see one of my skills is not just one-on-one with the family and the client, but one of my skills is bringing out the best in other people and matching people to resources. And so I could see over the next even year having another nurse or two that have a similar background to me, where when I get an intake call, they might be a match for a different nurse interventionist. And so instead of referring them outside of my direct business, I would be matching them within my business. So that's one thing, but I know that I'm going to have difficulty having the level of trust in another person. So that's something that I'm going to have to get to over time. The other way I hope to scale is other services. So I'm on a continuum of care where I do acute intervention, and I've already started to add case management services to where I'm following people after they leave treatment. So it's only a matter of time before I'm going to bring in additional case managers to build that. And ironically, and I'm sure I should ask you guys, I've gotten 2 inquiries about acquisitions, and I'm thinking what about whether I want to scale or merge or join something else. And I'm thinking, but I'm just one person. So apparently people think I have more going on than I do, because I'm not exactly sure what they would be buying into at this point. I also want to write more full time. I would love to be able to be a published author as well. So those are all my ideas.
So that'd be an interesting conversation for us to have, at a later date, about the acquisition stuff. But I think I'd say to you both that, from a long tail perspective and how do you scale, I think that, and I know you might think this is a bit corny, but both of you have a lot of content in your head, okay? And you really should document that and sell that. And so what I'm saying is that, like, we have 1, 2, 4, 5 websites, okay? And every day they make money for us while we sleep because people book online, okay? And so we wake up every morning and there's a queue of reservations in the system, and we process that, and or there's a queue of inquiry that's come from our website or websites. So and I said what you may think is a bit corny, but it's like download the Doug Lawson master guide to copy, or that the 11 best kept secrets of copy, or Amy, you've got built up such credibility that It's time for you to now ask the audience to commit to something. And that's, you know, by purchasing a digital product online. And there is your scalability, because you need to learn how to make money while you sleep. And you might think, well, that's a bit tacky. Why do I want to sell an ebook or a, you know, some sort of downloadable PDF? You have both demonstrated enough content and goodwill that your customers are ready to actually, they want to buy something from you. They want to help you. They want to, you know, and so you can deliver a lot of free content before that and say, you know, download this PDF on, here's the 6 most common things that go wrong in an intervention, or how to prepare for an intervention, or, you know, how to generate great content in 6 easy steps, whatever that, however you think you need to package that, but it's now time for you to actually monetize that expertise and put it on your website. And, you know, who cares if you sell 1 a month, right? At $47 or $97 or whatever weird internet marketing price you want to come up with, but you owe it to yourselves to actually document something and sell it, okay? Because all the experts, that has not changed in 20 years. If you look at all of if we typed in Google now, like Internet Marketing 101, you'll see all of these experts, you know, that are selling content. And let's be honest, how many of us have bought digital product? 80% of people don't even open it. They just tick the box. Oh, thank God I bought that. I bought Doug Lawson's Copy Secrets Guide, or I bought, you know, Amy, you know, I bought Amy Olseth's, you know, guide to a successful intervention, you know, but I'm just saying you're leaving money on the table. I mean, we're not perfect either at it, but I know that after 5 years, every day our digital assets are working their ass off. So there, and stop.
I agree. I think we've got to end this call. Amy, we've never spoken before. This is the first time I've ever met you offline, and it's been fantastic. You're very easy to engage with. I hope we can pick up another conversation, the 3 of us, soon, to dive in deeper into what we were talking about before. So it was nice to meet you, Amy.
I feel like I know you. Like, it doesn't seem. It's really cool. It's really cool. I've really enjoyed talking to both of you, and it feels really natural.
Yes, it feels natural. Except for when Simon trying to get us banned on LinkedIn for doing that. All right. Cheers, guys. Take it easy.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. I gotta go.